Are you ready to unleash your creative razzle-dazzle? Then join the Canary Cry new stock producers and make some refrigerator art for the show. Show your support with your talent at canarycry.party. Your mom will thank you.
Yo, you curious about blockchain technology? Your boys Basil and Gons at CCNT have gone full crypto bro. Tune in to your favorite Sigma males and discover the world of blah blah blockchain. Don't miss out, fam. Join the ride and level up your crypto game.
Investing in cryptocurrency involves significant risk and can result in substantial or complete loss of funds. The information provided by CCNT, Basil and Gons is for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. Always conduct your own research and consult with a professional financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Razzle Dazzle, it's Body by Basil, the new exciting fitness craze that will get you Canary Cry swole in no time at all. Just listen to these quotes from our participants. My muscles are huge. It's all or Nephilim. You'll be an apocalypse warlord in no time. Don't wait. Order today and save 33% for just 4 easy payments of only $33.33. You too can have the body of a googly eye, VR headset wearing Nephilim warlord.
A new, raw deconstruction of news and analysis. Introducing Canary Cry New Stalk, the new intense fragrance made specifically for thinking outside the cage. From your favorite podcasters, Basil and Gons.
Gons, can you hear me? I'm hearing reports about a prototype Flippy arm.
Don't tell me. Flippy is coming for our jobs.
That's right. You know what this means.
Yeah, it's wake-up time. Think outside the cage.
Hello everybody, Gons here. Basil is still on the road, and I was not able to connect with him today before the show. However, I was told he is recording his end of stuff, and it's been over an hour and I don't have anything yet, so we'll see if he'll even be on time, and if he went on like a 40-minute rant or something, it might be a problem. Oh, he's uploading it now. Oh boy, more FEMA. He can't let go of the FEMA property thing. Let's see how long. He said he just uploaded it. Let me take a look. Let's see. Gonna find out how long this this file is, and if I even have time to do it today, because I have a full slate of things that I want to talk about too. Let's see. Downloading it now. Okay. Alright. 23 minutes. Do you guys, in the chat, let me know. Do you want 23 minutes of Basil breaking down more FEMA property acquisition stuff, which he's been doing for... He did it for 2 episodes. We spent an hour on it 2 episodes ago. He went on a half-hour tirade last episode, uninterrupted. I didn't interrupt once. And now he's got another 23-minute thing going. I'm going to let the chat decide if you want to hear it. Okay, people want to hear it. All right. I'll try to squeeze it in. I don't know if I'm going to have time, to be honest. I got to get through stuff, too. It's a competition now. It's a competition. My stuff is kind of interesting too, and it's not the same topic we've been covering for 2 episodes in a row. Actually, no, it's thematically the same as stuff we've been talking about for years. But you know, hey, you know, Basil's not here. He's not in the saddle. He doesn't have his hand on the steering wheel of the ship, the Canary Cry ship. so I can do whatever I want. Is there a way I can play his message faster? Can I speed up his thing? Why couldn't he give us like a 20-minute ordeal? Or a 10-minute deal, I mean. 10 minutes or so. Why is it going to be 25 minutes long? Alright. Well, let's see. Let me check some messages. I know we got some messages coming in on the text message alert system. Text Canary to 877-740-3226. That's the word Canary to 877-740-3226. It'll put you on the text message alert system where we will alert you when we're live. And you can text back, and we won't always respond. Actually, we'll never respond to you, but it's something you can do. We have our scripture guy here. For see, the day of the Lord is coming, the terrible day of his fury and fierce anger. The land will be made desolate, and all the sinners destroyed with it. I, the Lord, will punish the world for its evil and the wicked for their sin. I will crush the arrogance of the proud and humble the pride of the mighty. That's Isaiah 13:9 and 11. Thank you for that. Got other people saying, what's up? Miss y'all. Gons, please. Somebody wants financial advice. Man, it's a whole thing. All right, let's get into it. Let's get rolling.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is October 16th, 2024. Happy birthday to Dr. Johnny Bananas. It's on our calendar. Episode 782. TESLAGENDA now. TESLAGENDA now. My name is Gons, director of the Age of Deceit Films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, live to tape from the land of New Scum to bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's emergent phenomenon. I have a little rant. It's a little rant of a phenomenon. Faith is an algorithm. You might be thinking, what? What are you talking about, Gons? Faith is not an algorithm. It's just an analogy, okay? It's the idea of what you put in to your mind, your heart, your soul, affects what comes out. And in technology today, the I.O., if you have ever seen a website, whatever, yada yada .io, it's people have adopted it to mean input output. It's also the ones and zeros of computers, computer language, binary. And it just means input output. And if you think about us as created in God's image and imagers of God, it's interesting because the idea of what we put into our minds, what we expose ourselves to, can directly affect how we speak, how we treat others, in our relationships, everything. It's a fascinating thing. So the analogy of the computer input-output concept is real, and it's a good one because it will shine a light on what it means to be living a life of purity, a life of righteousness, and it doesn't mean we achieve it. That's the whole point. That's the whole reason why we need Jesus, is that we are able to see this perfection or something better, but we are unable to fully attain it. We're in the pursuit of it. And it's fascinating that we are programmed, if you will, to see a better version of ourselves, of humanity and everything, but we are not able to get there. And for the first time in a long time, we are returning to a moment in history where the technology is allowing for some people to access the ability to, or at least try to continue to attain those goals. And it's been part of the occult promise, an agenda. And so, interestingly enough, if you think about the reality of the situation of where we are in now, have you thought about your input? Is it rooted in the Word of God? Is it rooted in the Holy Spirit? Because that might determine how you determine that might influence or shape how your output is. The reality is that, the hardware software thing, the mind body or mind spirit type of situation, or body spirit, or wetware, as Adam Curry likes to call it, we're all sort of starting out with faulty software. And that's sin. Sin is truly a virus in a sense. And it's probably why YouTube did not like a video that I titled "The Real Virus" during the pandemic, talking about sin. It wasn't even about COVID. It was really about sin. But they're like, no, you cannot publish a video titled "The Real Virus" during that time. So yeah, it got canceled. It got, I got a strike, the whole deal. This was before my channel got completely taken down, the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel, which had 260,000 subscribers. Hold on one second. Message here. Yep, trying to balance out IRL life and do a show at the same time. It's takes talent. So we're all fighting for this attainment of a better selves and a better humanity and all this kind of stuff. And I find it very fascinating that, irrespective of what religion or worldview or spirituality that one might hold, everybody's on this pursuit. And in my opinion, the Bible is the best explanation for what's going on, this fallen nature of man, this sin nature that we're born with, and how the true enemy is not physical. It's especially in origin, and that part of the entire message of Jesus and the resurrection, it was a demonstration, an actual physical demonstration of the restoration of creation and of humanity in its rightful place in the universe, or whatever you want to call it. So it's fascinating to me that we are at this time where we know the problem. Everybody's sort of in agreement with the problem. There are some people pursuing to solve that problem with science and technology, which is quickly becoming faith-based, as well as all the religions of the world starting to move in that direction and at least see it for what it is, and applying their own sort of worldview to it. But again, I think the biblical worldview, the biblical message, the gospel of Jesus is the most direct because it's personal and cosmic. It ticks all the boxes. It's God in human flesh, fully God, and a fully human experience to relate to us. And so, it's a fascinating thing. And scripture, end times prophecy, all that stuff really makes it fascinating when you think about where we are in history and where we were perhaps pre-flood. And as it were in the days of Noah, as Jesus said, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man. I think they had some pretty substantial technology and science, if you will, based on some hidden or suppressed type of information that may be coming out soon. And that's sort of the theme of today. My long little rant here is there's a Trump-Tesla tandem that is a theme that emerges today. But I wanted to start off before we get too deep here. I guess I should do a disclaimer. Nah, I don't like doing it, but here we go. It's a thing that we have to do. So here it is.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube. That's right. And just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys.
But the world doesn't think so. All right, we're going to... Actually, no, let me share this real quick. Let me share this 33-second weird clip that I found. And it's a video game of SpongeBob SquarePants, and it's a conversation between SpongeBob and what's the other guy's name? Squidward? Yeah, Squidward. And the caption here says December 12th, 2024. Let me play this 33-second clip as a primer.
Number 12th 2024.
What are you talking about, Squidward?
I'm talking about the date, SpongeBob. December 12th, 2024.
Why are you telling me the date, Squidward?
Because it's an important date, SpongeBob.
And why is it an important date, Squidward?
Because that's when the world is going to end, SpongeBob.
Okay, Squidward has stated December 12th, 2024, the day the world is going to end. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it means, but there it is. You know, it's just another one of those December. What's up with December and the end of the world talk? I mean, we get this, once a decade? Is that what it is? December 21st, 2012, and now it's December 12th, 2024. Is that that weird flipperoo thing about the end of the world? The calculations were wrong. It's actually December 12th, 2024 type thing with the Mayan calendar. I don't know. But you know what? The world is weird. The world is weird. And we're going to start off with drones.
Drone strikes have saved lives.
Can we shoot them down if over our property?
Drones.
The Wall Street Journal reported a few days ago mystery drones swarmed a U.S. military base for 17 days. The Pentagon is stumped. Yeah, sure. I'm sure the Pentagon has no idea where these drones came from, what they're doing, why they're here. I'm sure they're stumped. I'm actually going to take the MSN mirrored version because the Wall Street Journal version is behind a paywall. And so I cannot read it. Although maybe I should just subscribe for the show, just to have access. But then again, I don't know. Giving them money to be able to read stuff, I don't know about that. Okay, so here it is. Mystery drones swarm Air Force Base for 17 days, leaving Pentagon baffled. It says top security officials in the U.S. remain stumped after an unknown fleet of drones breached restricted military airspace for 17 days last December. Okay, so this is almost a year ago, and we are now hearing about it on mainstream news, Wall Street Journal. Which goes to show you, everything that happens, by the time events and things, unless it's like a breaking thing happening, it's all, it's a slow rollout of all this stuff. The new report, first detailed by the Wall Street Journal, says military personnel reported witnessing the mysterious fleet over a stretch of land at Langley Air Force Base along Virginia's shore. The drones would appear in the sky about 45 minutes to an hour after sunset each night. Former Air Force General Mark Kelly was first made aware of the drone sightings in December 2023, and the outlet reports they showed up for 17 consecutive days, with officials at the Pentagon suspecting they might have been deployed by Chinese or Russian agents to spy on the American military. Yeah, it's always the Chinese and Russians. But because the drones were did not pose an imminent threat, the officials at the time weren't certain if they were being used for nefarious purposes, or perhaps it was just wayward hobbyists. Which, by the way, if you're the Pentagon, aren't you aware if this is wayward hobbyists? Can't you track all this stuff? It's for the amount of surveillance they have, it's just convenient how they don't have answers for stuff that's weird happening in the sky. Just bizarre. The military was prohibited from shooting them down. Oh, okay. So based on the jingle, the answer is clear. They cannot shoot them down, citing potential risks to troops and civilians. The White House met with the Defense Department, the FBI, and the Pentagon's UFO office. Yeah, I forgot there's a Pentagon UFO office, as well as outside experts to discuss what to do about the mystery formations. But several solutions, including shooting nets to catch the drones. I like that. Shooting nets to catch the drones and using electronic signals to jam their navigation system also did not make the cut. Interesting. Someone's in there saying, no, don't shoot them down. Maybe the compromised individual or the mole is in there in the Pentagon telling them not to do stuff like that. According to the Wall Street Journal, the phalanx of drones, I think I'm saying that right, phalanx of drones flew in a precise pattern along the same route each night. Yeah, this reminds me of the scripture. I should have pulled it up. I think we've referenced it before. It's in the Old Testament. I think it's in the book of Joel. Yeah, I think it's Joel 2. The locust army moving in formation, each Each one had an equal distance to another, and they were all moving in formation. Very similar to what these drones are doing and how they move. Kelly described the first drone he saw as roughly 20 feet long. That's huge, by the way, 20 feet. And flying at more than 100 kilometers an hour. That's pretty fast. At an altitude of roughly 3,000 to 4,000 feet. That's pretty high. Kelly said as many as a dozen more drones followed behind and said the drones looked like constellations in the night sky. Yeah. My own personal Starlink, or not Starlink, Starlink. Yeah. Starlink sightings that I've had in the sky, very similar. It looked like reindeer. It looked like Santa and reindeer flying through the sky. It looked like a roller coaster, a chain of lights. So part of me thinks, are you sure this wasn't just Starlink? And and the Wall Street Journal is busting out a whole narrative about potential international threats or UFO or whatever to just keep the people interested, when really it was just Elon's Starlink, which you can look up on the internet. If it was such an alarming breach that Langley officials canceled their nighttime training missions and moved their F-22 fighter jets to another base. So serious stuff. A U.S. Air Force Lockheed Martin F-22. Oh, that's just the thing, the caption of the picture. According to Fox News, 2 months before the fleet emerged over Langley, 5 mysterious drones reportedly breached restricted airspace are over a government nuclear weapons experiment site in Nevada. The outlet reports that 4 of the drones were detected by the Energy Department's Nevada National Security Site outside Las Vegas, while the 5th was spotted by employees. Oh, good. Good. You got the actual Energy Department identifying it, and also some employees seeing it. That's good. The Department of Defense has yet to publicly state who is behind those drones. According to the FAA website, quote, reports of unmanned aircraft sightings from pilots, citizens, and law enforcement remain high, end quote. The FAA says it received more than 100 UAS reports a month. Quote, the agency wants to send out a clear message that operating drones around airplanes, helicopters, and airports is dangerous and illegal. Unauthorized operators may be subject to stiff fines and criminal charges, including possible jail time, end quote, the website states, reminding drone operators to review the rules about where and when a drone is safe to fly. Okay, and it goes into some more details, but that's pretty much it for this article. And what's interesting is the fact that it was over the Pentagon. This did remind me of a historical UFO sighting. If you are not aware of it, back in 1952, there was something called the Washington Flap. It was when a whole bunch of people saw UFOs over the White House. And there have been some recreations, like visual recreations of it. I don't think the footage that's often used to reference this is real. I think it was like a later creation. But the actual reports of it are true. I'm over here on travelchannel.com, so it's legit. Travelchannel.com had this article, when was this? I don't know, years ago maybe. It doesn't really have a date on it. But it's 1952 DC UFO sightings, what really happened? And just a real brief, just so people are aware of it. It was just before midnight on July 19th, 1952 at the Washington National Airport, now the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, when an air traffic controller spotted 7 unidentified flying objects in the sky southward of the nation's capital. The controller, Edward Nugent, asked colleagues to double-check what he was seeing. They confirmed the equipment was working properly, and what they could see was not following a typical flight pattern. Not long after, the controllers could see other bright objects hovering over the White House, then occupied by President Harry S. Truman, and the Capitol building. Fighter jets were scrambled from nearby Newcastle Air Force Base in Delaware in the pre-dawn hours of July 20th, 1952, but the UFOs disappeared from the radar and from sight when the fighter jets arrived over the city. When a lack of fuel forced the jets to return to Delaware, the radar detected UFOs again, leading the air traffic controllers to believe the mysterious crafts could intercept and understand radio traffic. By daybreak, the objects were no longer visible on radar or by eye. And of course, the explanations were, it was a weather phenomenon. It was just, you guys are just seeing things and whatnot. But the history behind this and the timing behind this, the year, really, 1952, right after World War II. I'm going to go through a quick timeline in a few minutes here of just the bedrock, it feels, of our current situation, of the rise of the techno populist movement, the emerging open source of new technologies that are being labeled quantum, which really might just be Teslan technology, like Aether physics or whatever you want to call it, like Tesla's stuff that he discovered or, he sort of, identified in nature, so to speak. They decided to go more commercial with the more robust, explosive type of energy consumption or combustion, I guess. Whereas now we are moving towards more of the implosion energy containment type of system. So you'll get a sense of what I'm talking about as I go through here. So let's just jump in. The pairing of Elon and Trump has obviously been interesting to watch. And I think people are blinded by the current politics of what may be going on here.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
Yeah, we're connected because billionaire gives us ability to connect. Remember Elon said he might be an alien?
Where are the aliens? Maybe they're among us. I don't know. Some people think I'm an alien. Not true.
Maybe we are aliens.
Of course I'd say that,
Maybe we are.
Yeah. He would say that if you're an alien, right? So right now, Elon Musk is campaigning out in Pennsylvania with Trump. Very fascinating. I'll read about it here. This is NBCnews.com. Elon Musk has given nearly $75 million to his pro-Trump super PAC. The tech billionaire established America PAC in May to support Trump's campaign to return to the White House. And it says here that the filing with the Federal Election Commission was the first public look at Musk's political giving this year after months of speculation about how much money he would contribute to pro-Trump efforts. It shows that he has vaulted into the top ranks of Republican donors. Can you imagine that? Elon Musk is one of the top-ranking Republican donors. I mean, obviously, he's one of the richest, or, on paper, one of the richest people in the world. Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, is the world's wealthiest person with a net worth of $241 billion, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. He established America PAC in May to support Trump's campaign. And, he's given all kinds of money, millions of dollars at a time here. And I don't want to focus on the nitty gritty with this one. It's just to show that he's putting money where his mouth is on this stuff. And he's also, I think he's out doing just, I don't know, like events out in Pennsylvania. And it's a free event. So if you're out there, go to one of these events, be boots on the ground, send us a message and report on it. We need more of that. We need more producers out there. Just boots on the ground reporting for stuff happening in the world. That's part of the value for value system. If you can bring that kind of value, that's something that no other show can do. Maybe there are a few other shows out there, but something unique to our show here, the Canary Cry News Talk and Radio Empire. And here it is. Reuters, Musk to campaign in Pennsylvania after appearance at Trump rally. Elon Musk said he will give, quote, a series of talks from tomorrow night through Monday. So that's tonight through Monday in Pennsylvania, or maybe it's tomorrow night, like Thursday. I don't know. In Pennsylvania, less than 2 weeks after the billionaire made a high-profile appearance with former president and Republican candidate Donald Trump. Earlier last week, a source told Reuters that Musk plans more campaigning for Trump in Pennsylvania, and his appearances would be connected to his America PAC Political Action Committee. Pennsylvania is considered a crucial state for both Trump and Democratic opponent Vice President Kamala Harris in the race for November 5th. Man, it's coming up. It's coming up, folks. Hope everyone's going to vote, I guess. Interesting. I have to say, the sentiment is not looking good for Kamala Harris. It's really bad. But that makes me really nervous because as everybody piles on Kamala and Kamala just continues to I don't know what she's fumbling the spotlight. She's probably going to go on Joe Rogan, and that could be a real disaster. As everybody piles on Kamala, even losing Democratic voters, clearly they've lost a lot of men, young men, especially black community. I mean, a lot of people are turning on Kamala. But it makes me even more nervous because, as I said last episode, it really does set up a potential serious civil unrest if they steal the election this time. Because now you don't just have your fringe Republicans or your quote-unquote white nationalists, Christian nationalists. You don't hear those terms much anymore. Isn't that interesting? Those kinds of words or phrases in the mainstream have pretty much vanished for the most part. And so now even the mainstream is helping everybody see the incompetence of Kamala Harris. So if Kamala wins the elections, imagine the outrage from mainstream talking head pundits to alt, influencers talking about this stuff, to independent. Everybody's going to be very upset. And the amount of chaos that could be unleashed under that condition is something that I don't think a lot of Americans are prepared for. I think people listening to this show, obviously you guys are up to speed. You're prepared, hopefully physically, but certainly spiritually for that kind of thing to go down. And considering December 12th being the end of the world, according to Squidward, I mean, maybe there's something there where within a month after the elections, at the very least, the American empire goes through some kind of collapse. And if it does, I am under the impression, and this sounds kind of crazy, but it could happen. You know, a lot of people don't think there's going to be an election this year, but the possibilities are wide open. I'm praying that it's just a milquetoast thing. It's a landslide for Trump, and we just kind of move on, and we're able to sort of officially move forward from this time and continue forward. And we're going to face all kinds of crazy stuff, even if he does become president officially anyway. But really, the battle going on right now amongst the populations and amongst the minds of the people, truly, if you look at it, if you pull back, get out of the rabbit holes of politics for a moment, take a wider view on what's happening, we are seeing the formation of the network state, the American network state, the constitutional network state, right? A network state that values the Constitution and those principles for what traditionally was the foundations of America. You have those people literally forming a network state under the careful guidance of Elon Musk and the platform of X as really leading the charge there. And you have your legacy world, the mainstream media news, the Democrats, the left, whatever the old system is still trying to hold on to the attention of the population. And so you have network versus legacy, and that's really what's at play here, in my opinion. And so it's, even if the elections go down and they say Kamala wins, the amount of rebellion, the amount of revolt, and the amount of momentum the network state can actually pull off and implement when it comes to, the adoption of the network state principles for the masses, it could happen. It could truly happen. I mean, think about if Trump and Elon practice, display the constitutional protections that we have in this country by literally pushing back against a tyrannical government in sort of a physical confrontation and trying to basically take over the government. Based on the sentiments of where we are in the country right now, I don't think a lot of people are going to push back on that. They're going to be all for it. So I don't know. It's a very interesting time. And certainly, everyone's talking about the most important elections in our lifetime. And certainly that could be true just because of the splitting of the network state and the legacy state. And we will continue to monitor it. But I think it's important to keep in mind because you just never know. You just never know as things unfold. Now, there are many layers to this. And once you start going under the hood with Elon and Trump's partnership, okay, and it happens on various fronts, mainly economic. It's mainly economic. We're going to start off here. I'm going to take a look at Benzinga, because Benzinga had the headline, NVIDIA, which is one of the biggest chip companies, or the biggest chip company, especially in America here. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang praises Elon Musk after achieving something with XAI in 19 days that usually takes at least a year. quote, singular in his understanding of engineering, end quote. Basically, what Elon did was put together a massive NVIDIA chip factory to support AI and probably Grok, I'm guessing, or XAI's entire project there. And he was able to build it in about 3 weeks, whereas usually it would take about a year to do. And this is an example of how private entities are really the tip of the spear when it comes to the technocracy. And it's always kind of been like that when you look at it. When you look at the military-industrial complex, and even World War II, it was corporations like Ford. You know, I think it was Ford, right? That was in Nazi Germany, helping out with the numbering system. That was IBM too. So it's always companies, it's always corporations doing it, and you know, they present this face of, oh, it's, you know, this is a private thing, this is separate from the government. But we know it's sort of this is the government entity, if you will, the authority changing clothes, right? They're like, yeah, that old liberal, it doesn't work anymore. You know, the trans outfit doesn't work anymore. So we got to put on the conservative outfit now to continue on with the agenda. And I do think that there's something to be said about that. And again, I think there's a potential here where the partnership of Elon and Trump goes way, way back in terms of before their lifetimes even. And I'll get there in a second. So next article here, this is talking about the monetary aspect of this and the economic side of things when it comes to crypto. And Fortune.com had the headline today: Tesla moves $765 million in Bitcoin to unknown wallets, putting Musk's crypto plans into the spotlight. That's a lot of Bitcoin to move. Can you imagine? You know, the one thing that crypto does is it levels the playing field. You're able to move money with a few clicks. Anybody can move money to anybody else in the world with a few clicks, right? That's sort of the beauty of crypto. But can you imagine how sweaty your fingers would be if you're moving, you know, I mean, not all $665 million or $765 million of Bitcoin at once, but, you know, just imagine just sitting there. You're like, okay, I'm about to hit click on send of, you know, $200 million worth of Bitcoin. It's just madness. I don't know. It's crazy. But it says here that Elon Musk's curious relationship with crypto has taken another turn, according to blockchain analytics platform Arkham Intelligence. The company has moved approximately $765 million worth of Bitcoin to unknown wallets. It's unclear whether the EV maker, the fourth biggest holder of Bitcoin among U.S. public companies per Bitcoin treasuries, has plans to sell. Tesla did not immediately respond to a request for comment or confirmation of the transfer. Now, if you've been paying attention to the whole sort of, I don't know, the board of red string and pins, it was Jason P. Lowry, who I discussed in Age of Deceit 3, and I've been talking about him for about a year, saying that Bitcoin can change the game in terms of energy consumption and fix the problem we have with the software side of things right now, where the unbalance of power that exists today, where, you know, few people have way too much power and influence based on the software leverage that they have over the masses. And technically, if you look at Elon Musk, he is a neo-god king, as Jason P. Lowry calls it. He has the ability to, he's got a lot of influence and power, and it's behind software, right? And so changing that up, changing the energy infrastructure is a big part of this. Tesla truly is an energy company. If you really kind of get down to the nitty gritty, yeah, they make cars, but truly, if you look at what they are, they're an energy company. So for them to be moving Bitcoin around, I think they might be preparing for something in that regard, because you got Jason P. Lowry, who was endorsed by RFK Jr., and of course, RFK Jr. has teamed up with Trump, right? And so now you got that whole military side of Bitcoin as part of the Trump apparatus, if you will. And you have Elon coming in, biggest car company, Tesla, moving their Bitcoin around, perhaps for some kind of energy infrastructure system, maybe part of, you know, loading up onto getting Tesla, you know, fueling your Teslas in the future will be based on Bitcoin or maybe Doge or something like that. Something like that in the works. It'll be based on the changing of how we do energy. And with Trump planning to do some things if he gets into office with energy, could really reduce the cost of energy. and that could really help the economy out. So there's all kinds of moves being made here, but I would even argue that even if they don't win, if they are able to put in place the economic infrastructure for everybody to jump into, it almost doesn't matter who's in the White House, because everybody knows the White House and all that, it's all a stage, right? It's all kind of an act, and everyone's being I don't know, they're getting up to speed with that concept of like, yeah, the government lies to us. It's all a big show. It's nonsense. And more people are getting up to speed on that. So if they lose, there is a way to minimize an actual violent uprising of the people by allowing them to enter into this new economic platform that all these guys are building with crypto and everything else, and create the network state, truly. And so it'll be up to us to continue obeying government as it was in the legacy form, or become a part of this new network state of America. And, these are just possibilities. But, Tesla's had Bitcoin for a long time. They've held on to it. And it just seems that they're making moves now, which is interesting to watch because, think about it. Elon now has NVIDIA, using NVIDIA microchips, creating the XAI factories, right? And now he's using Tesla and moving around Bitcoin, maybe using Bitcoin to root all that digital infrastructure. Very fascinating. Very fascinating. So, let's see, where was I going to go next with this? Okay, I think I got through everything here. Okay, so let me dig a little deeper into the Tesla, Elon Musk, Trump, apparatus, if you will. And some of you guys know this. Okay, some of you guys are probably aware of this, but there is history with Nikola Tesla and Donald Trump. And it's a very interesting history. Before I even get into that, though, I want to mention another gentleman. His name is Charles Delshah. Charles Delshah. He is born in 1830, died on April 20th. He died on 4/20, folks. He died on 4/20, 1923, was a Prussian American who gained posthumous fame after the discovery of his large scrapbooks that contained drawings, collages, and watercolors of airplanes and airships. He has been classified as one of the first visionary artists. Now, why is this interesting? Because one of a few of Delshah's drawings that he's famous for contained the word Trump in it. I'm showing one on screen for people watching. It's an airship. It looks like a train kind of thing, but it's described as an airship. There's some I don't know, text at the bottom. Houston, Texas, Saturday, April 26, 1920. And there's a number on the side here, 45. Uh-oh, I can't, what's going on with the thing? 45, and then like a little twirly thing. And, we pointed out during the last presidential cycle, or the one before the last one when Trump was last president. He was the 45th president, right? So interesting that the number 45 is on the airship drawing. I don't know who these people are that are in the drawing. I don't know if there's one guy that looks kind of like Trump off to the side, like sitting on the hood of this thing. But then a big banner in the middle of this airship with stripes, red, white, and blue stripes in the background, and in big yellow letters it says Trump. And this is one of a few that exists, Delshah paintings. And I bring him up because he was a contemporary of Nikola Tesla, who was born in July of 1956 and passed away on January in January of 1943. Of course, everybody is familiar with Nikola Tesla and the sort of, physics, the Aether physics that he allegedly discovered. And the Tesla-Trump connection is something that if you do any digging, you know about it, right? Yahoo Finance actually published an article a few years ago. I think it was 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, September of 2020 was when this article was published on Yahoo Finance, okay? Think about that. How Tesla, Nikola, and Donald Trump are all connected. They're all connected. January 9th, 1943, 2 days after Nikola Tesla died destitute in a New York City hotel, the FBI called MIT professor and esteemed electrical engineer John G. Trump to determine if any of the belongings in the inventor's estate, which included a purported weapon of mass destruction Tesla called the Death Ray, would be dangerous if they fell into enemy hands. After a 3-day investigation, Trump, in fact, the late uncle of Donald J. Trump, determined there was no risk. In parentheses, it turned out Tesla never actually made his death ray. Oh, good. Yeah, that's a perfect time for the military to get a hold of it and make it themselves. Still, the mystery and exaggerated claims, along with the soaring success and failures associated with Tesla, an eccentric Serbian-American polymath futurist, continue to be played out today on a scale that only he could have imagined. So, yes, there's this history where John G. Trump, Donald Trump's uncle, he was an MIT professor and he was given, or electrical engineer, professor, and he was given the Tesla papers to analyze. Fascinating. 1943. This is in the late years of World War III. World War III was from 1939 to 1945. So in the midst of World War II. I keep saying three. World War II. And I think it's very strange. It's very interesting that you have Trump, the Del Shop paintings of airships. You have Nikola Tesla connection with Uncle Trump, getting the Tesla papers. And of course, Donald Trump was born a couple years after this, 1946. June of 1946 was when Donald Trump was born. And I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in the 40s. You guys know about my whole rant about the 40s, right? You got World War II happening between 1939 and 1945. But then in the midst of that, okay, so 1943, Tesla dies. Nikola Tesla dies. The papers get handed over to Dr. Trump, Donald Trump's uncle, right? Here's what happens next. 1944, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank are formed just a year later, okay? And then the UN is formed in 1945. After that, that's the year the war ended. And then Donald Trump is born in 1946, okay? And then Kenneth Arnold, you have the two big UFO sightings that sparked the contemporary UFO topic in America and the world. The first one being the Kenneth Arnold State of Washington sighting that happened in 1947. And then the Roswell crash also that happened later in 1947. So two events happening in 1947, just a year after Donald Trump was born, the UFO stuff begins, right? And then the World Health Organization is founded in 1948, all right? And then in 1952, we have the Washington Flap that we just talked about at the beginning of the show, in reference to, or just, relating it to the drones story over the Pentagon. So a lot of things happened in that era, and it wasn't until 1971 when Elon was born. But you think about, let's just bring it back to today. You look at what types of things are being written when it comes to Trump's plan for technology and science and stuff, should he get in. It's interesting. We have the Brookings Institute here, the Brookings Institute. If you're familiar with any New World Order research, you might be familiar with some of the Brookings Institute and their sort of, I don't know, their role in all kinds of government stuff, really. But it's one of those institutions that seems to have a lot of influence when it comes to governments and foreign policy and global elites and the whole deep state narrative. You can even argue that the Brookings Institute is one of the pillars or the tip of the spear when it comes to the narratives that you'll hear out in the open in the news and things like that. So the Brookings Institute here has this article that they published back in July of this year. It's titled Project 2025, What a Second Trump Term Could Mean for Media and Technology Policies. And it's a long article. I'm not going to read it. But if you read it, it's funny because this is where a lot of the 2025 thing, the attack on Trump's 2025. Oh, he's got the 2025 agenda. It's because places like the Brookings report come out with articles like this commentary where it's like, oh, he's gonna take over everything, right? It says here, critics have called it, the 2025 agenda, a blueprint for autocratic takeover, This blog will look at a key aspect of Project 2025's blueprint, its plans for technology, media, and communications policies, and the potential implications on the future of existing public policies. And it's funny because you read through this and it's like, Trump is going to make it so, technology, social media platforms are held accountable for what they show children. How dare he? How dare he protect the children? I mean, it's not to that level, but it is kind of like that, with so many words. And also, the big one being that technology is it's going to be monitored, or it's really technocratic the way they put it anyway. It's interesting. It's just fascinating to read. The U.S. should end dependency. So this is part of what they believe. Okay, the 2025 project, what they want to do. The U.S. should end dependency on Chinese chips and technology manufacturing by reviving American industry. Ban the equipment used to spy on Americans by Chinese manufacturers and replace parts that are already in place. Now, what did we just talk about with NVIDIA praising Elon? Elon's in with, it just seems like the whole thing is planned, right? And it's funny because it's against China. The race is with China, which I'll get to in a second here. The authors also consider restricting Chinese individuals or companies from investing in quote-unquote cutting-edge technology firms and funding research at American universities to prevent national security threats, theft of intellectual property, and aid China in unwittingly or wittingly supporting Chinese tech ambitions. And so, again, Brookings' report sort of laying out like, yeah, so a lot of this has to do with pushing back against China in this tech war. And we're going to move into some other woo-woo type of stuff. Let me actually play the Trump jingle that makes sense in this context.
We will launch a new age. I am innocent. Innocent. They're coming after me. They love killing.
And this connection to China.
Welcome to Chinese news. It comes from China. China. It's not racist at all, no. Chinese news!
And this is concerning the topic of quantum computers.
Quantum computer.
Wow. The South China Morning Post published an article, Chinese scientists hack military-grade encryption on quantum computer. Paper. Okay, I don't have the whole thing here. It's behind a paywall. Thank you, South China Morning Post. I'll just read the first two paragraphs here. Chinese scientists have mounted what they say is the world's first effective attack on a widely used encryption method using a quantum computer. The breakthrough poses a, quote, real and substantial threat to the long-standing password protection mechanism employed across critical sectors, including banking, military. Yeah, banking and the military, according to the researchers. Okay. Now, the downside or the Hegelian dialectic here, we know problem, reaction, solution, is always in play. You provide the problem. Oh, no, the Chinese are using quantum computers. They're going to decrypt all of our passwords. They're going to attack us. So what do we do in response? We need to push back, maybe with our own quantum computers. Maybe that's one way. But to really make sure that the people accessing our network are on the up and up, we need biometrics. That's what it's going to come down to. Fingerprints, iris scans, maybe WorldCoin getting in there perhaps. So the Hegelian dialectic being present the problem. Oh my gosh, all of our stuff is being hacked. Our money and our military are under threat. That's the message here. Our monetary system and our military is under threat. What must we do to push back? Well, we need a better encryption method for our money, and we need a better military type of protection, or military grade protection, if you will. And that could mean that, in the past it was social security numbers as part of our contributions to the military industrial complex, if you're looking at it from the top down in the United States. Well, now it might be that next level because the whole social security system is compromised, right? It's all in the dark net. and you know, everybody's doxxed on the. I mean, it's horrible. It's a bad system. It's outdated. It's old. It's hacked. The whole deal. So they're going to probably want to implement a new system. And what kinds of verification are they going to require? You know, I don't think it's going to be iris scan and you know, fingerprint and DNA. I don't know, DNA sequencing, you know, right at the beginning. But as time goes on, that's probably the direction we're headed. And so, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's fascinating to keep watch. And especially because part of what is in the conversations, there's a few Joe Rogan episodes you can go watch on this kind of stuff, you know, on the front, I don't know, front page of alt media and stuff. A lot of people are talking about the energy infrastructure and how there could be some open source technology that will be released. You know, some people are saying in the next few months, maybe December 12th, 2024 is when they release the open source for some kind of new energy system, which might be based on more Tesla type of stuff. And is it possible that all this Tesla science that's been suppressed is quantum? You know, it's the quantum science that's been so woo-woo and weird and confusing because the establishment put their stake down in a certain type of physics, right? Like material science, material physics. But it doesn't work. It works within the realm of, you know, certain bandwidth of creation. But then it starts breaking down beyond that point, right? And we know it mathematically, and we know it in a certain sense because we have multi-billion-dollar machines deep underground in Sweden that test stuff like that, right? They test the photons and they're smashing particles and doing all the kinds of stuff at the minute levels, and they're seeing that it doesn't behave the same way as the larger scale levels where they understand physics. And so this science has been suppressed. And the idea of quantum stemmed from the edges of that traditional science, you know, Einsteinian type of science, right? E equals mc squared. And then as he started looking into quantum, he was intrigued by it. He didn't really get to finish his thesis on it. But so I think I feel like the quantum conversation, you know, quantum computing, it may be a branding thing. It may be a brand for Aether physics, Tesla physics, whatever you want to call it, the antediluvian technology, perhaps the type of technology that was used before the flood. And that's why maybe Jesus said, as it were in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the coming of the Son of Man, because the type of energy infrastructure that existed, and you can call it technology, science, whatever, that existed in the days of Noah are about to return in our generation. And maybe Trump, Tesla, Elon, you know, RFK Jr. with Bitcoin, all that is part of this unleashing of that ancient knowledge. And I don't just say, I know it sounds kind of wild and crazy, but I'm not the one saying it all. You know, I'm kind of putting the pieces together. But it's when we have articles like this from the BBC that really makes me think that the whole re-enchantment conversation that we've been having, the reason why, you know, some of us, not me, but people that are part of this team, the Canarium, go into Burning Man, get the intel, the camp of the unknown God, spreading the gospel there. We do stuff like that because we see the re-enchantment of society taking place, and it's happening with the tools at our fingertips, the technology at hand. BBC, okay? This is BBC reporting this. Quantum computers makes things happen like magic. Oh, wrong one. I was trying to play the magical sound. Yeah, this is the thing. It's the magic sound, you know, for the producers, but, you know, for the purposes of this article. Quantum computers makes things happen like magic. The development of quantum computers will make everything, quote, happen better, a researcher at a top university has said. That is broad. That is the most broad statement one can make. Well, what's quantum computer going to do? What is it going to do for society? It's going to make everything happen better. Everything's going to happen better, guys. Come on. A team from Oxford University's Department of Physics are among researchers from across the world racing to develop quantum computers, which are more advanced than current computers. I like BBC. So we're on the forefront of this because they're starting to really dumb down the language and they're spoon feeding it to the public through places like BBC, right? Right? Quantum computers, they are more advanced than current computers, citizen. Dr. Christopher Balance. Really? Dr. Balance? Dr. Balance says quantum will make things happen better. He sounds like... Why do they always sound like Marvel comic villains? Dr. Christopher Balance. I shall bring balance to the world. Dr. Christopher Balance from the department, that's the Department of Physics, said the new technology had the potential to improve many aspects of our lives, from weather apps to drug development. Oh, weather apps, huh? What do you mean quantum computer? That's the best we can do, huh? Weather apps and drug development. Oh, yes, that's how we should apply this technology. Quote, the best advanced tech is indistinguishable from magic. He's using the phrase that not only Elon Musk recently quoted, or he kind of flipped it around. We talked about it a few episodes ago. It's the Arthur C. Clarke quote. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. That phrase is becoming more common parlance as time goes on. And I quoted it back in, I think it was 2014, 10 years ago, Age of Deceit 2. Indistinguishable from magic. Technology, indistinguishable from magic. And that's what's being applied to in this quantum field. Very fascinating. Quantum physics is, according to the university's professor of quantum technologies, Simon Benjamin, the, quote, weird, interesting bits of physics, end quote. Quote, it's the bit where things get spooky and really strange stuff happens that defies everyday intuition, he said. Professor Benjamin said quantum computers could be used to solve equations that are, quote, too hard for current technology. Quote, we hope for a golden age of discovery once these machines are online, he added. Then it goes through the whole, what quantum computers are for the masses. It says here, we are getting there. This is one of the Professor Benjamin again. After, there's a little part here that talks about how the technology is difficult. It's really hard to keep these computers balanced, if you will, the state that they need to be in, the temperatures and all that kind of stuff. Very difficult. I know D-Wave is out there doing their thing, allegedly, with the Gordy Rose connecting to entities that are going to help them, the summoning entities, right, with D-Wave. That's been a thing for about a decade as well. But it says here, Professor Benjamin is optimistic despite the fact, quote, we are getting there, he said. There's a whole series of milestones, and every few months, someone in the world achieves another one. And so this race with China, I get the feeling as China gets more bold in their quantum, or at least, reporting quantum abilities, this is more of a saber rattling thing from China, right? Hey, we can hack. We have military grade hacking of all the encryption, America. Well, what's America probably going to do? Open source some type of quantum technology, which might be based on Tesla physics or whatever. And it's going to be open source. That's the big thing. It's going to be open source, the move to open source. And that way, if it is open source, then it's a way to actually make China's exclusivity of knowledge and information irrelevant or moot, right? Because if the code of this stuff, how to build it, how to, all this, if it becomes public, then China loses its edge in terms of the secrecy and, the intellectual property that's been stolen. It's been bad, right? So now the play from the other side would be, well, fine, if you're going to steal it, let's just make it open source so everybody has it. I told you folks, the decentralization of the intelligence apparatus. It's all happening. And what it's going to do to religion is also very interesting because of articles like this. This is from a year ago, August 24th, 2023. Quantum yin-yang shows two photons being entangled in real time. The stunning experiment, which reconstructs the properties of entangled photons from a 2D interface pattern, could be used to design faster quantum computers. And New Agers love this, folks. They love it because guess what? The reconstruction of a holographic image of two entangled photons is exactly the yin and yang symbol. I mean, those of you watching see it, right? It's literally the yin yang symbol. So think about what that's going to do. It's going to revitalize all kinds of ancient traditions, the re-enchantment of society. All this technology is going to re-kickstart all the ancient technology. We're going right back to the days of the Tower of Babel, where God said that if he doesn't stop it, anything they do would be imagined, or anything they imagine to do would be possible. And that's what's happening societally. So, I find it very fascinating that all this is taking place. There's a confluence of things happening all at once, where you have quantum computing getting to a certain level of adoption. You have cryptocurrencies getting to a certain level of adoption. You have AI coming to a certain level of adoption. You have, the entire apparatus, the infrastructure for money, the infrastructure for military, for information, all of it changing, the upgrade needing to happen. And also, I think this is a play for the chip factories in Taiwan. I think 2026, 2027 is probably when we'll start seeing a real push from either China or the U.S. to once and for all, take a stake at, basically Taiwan to control that supply chain. So, yeah, okay, I got through this fairly quickly. That's good. I wasn't going to ramble on and on about it, but I find the whole thing interesting. That's why I feel like, this is my opinion, regardless of what happens at the elections, this is going to move. The techno-conservatism will continue to rise, and it's not going to matter almost. It's just a matter of, hey, do you want to do this from the front door? With the Trump presidency, or are we going to have to do it from the back door, right? With a sort of here we go, a more creating the criminal, in the eyes of the state, a criminal class. All Republicans who support Trump are criminals. That's what they've wanted to do for a long time, right? Well, they might get their chance with this. Okay. All that being said, I am going to go ahead and play Basil's message here, his FEMA rant. Let's see. By the way, one more point about all this, okay? What you see here with Trump and Elon and this whole new infrastructure coming in, this is the real Build Back Better, folks.
Build back better. Build back better. Build back better. We will build Babylon better. This time, a new world order.
Think about Tesla as a company, why they started electric vehicles. EVs was the green agenda. It was Agenda 21. It's all this stuff. It started off that way. But because of his politics changing, now he's a bad guy. But really, the technology itself is all the stuff that they've wanted with Build Back Better and Agenda 21, or now Agenda 2030, that whole apparatus. And that's why I brought up the establishment of the World Health Organization back in 1948, as well as the UN in 1945. It all comes back to the 1940s, right? And we're now, 3-4 generations in, and I think they're about to up the game. We're about to maybe go through another phase of the Roaring 20s like we did in the 1920s, where technology created a boom of industry, a boom of the economy, of society. But then, of course, we went into World War II shortly thereafter. So I think we're seeing something similar here. Just don't forget that the Build Back Better agenda, it's almost like the legacy people were fakers of the Build Back Better thing. And they're like, yeah, we're going to build back better. Yeah, we're going to do that. And they've tried, but really the ones to bring it in is the Elon Musk Trump regime, the techno conservatives, or techno populists more specifically. Okay, I'm done. Let me get to Basil's rant. He's back at it, folks. He's back at talking about the loans thing, I'm just going to let him go. And let's hear what he had to say about all of this. Here's Basil on FEMA acquisition.
Hey everybody, best buddy Basil here, and calling in. Here I am, still out and about, still. Can you believe it? But don't worry, it's almost over. This should be the last episode that I will need to be coming to the show in this manner, but I'm here now. And I found a couple of things I wanted to share with you guys. I'm looking at the notes, looking at the document for today's show. The one that Gons has put together for you. I'm sure it's going well. I'm sure it's very impressive. I'm sure there's revelations that nobody could have ever seen coming with insight that surpasses anything else you could probably have access to. But two things stuck out to me. I might as well keep bringing you the information as it rolls out in regards to North Carolina in the wake of Hurricane Helene. Couple of things. Now, if you've tuned in the past couple episodes, you are intimately knowledgeable with both the presentation coming from Karine Jean-Pierre regarding the SBA loans, federal loans going to those affected by the hurricane, which, yes, does put all of their assets at risk if they're unable to pay those loans. But of course, don't listen to the fact checkers because they're talking about the $750. We broke that apart. You know the truth. But there's more. Over here, Politico.com. Disaster loan program fully exhausted with Congress still out of town. That's right, the disaster loan program fully exhausted. Now, if you remember the clip from a couple episodes ago, I had to go back and re-listen to it just before doing this. Maybe Gons can do that. Maybe Gons, he'll pause this. I'll give him a second. Perhaps, I don't know if he's going to do it. He could pause it here and then play that clip. I'll need to remember to tell him to do that beforehand. And if he doesn't do it, it's probably because I forgot to tell him. But just in case,
I was not told nothing.
I'll remind you that Karine Jean-Pierre, in her pinstripe suit and her purple shirt, and Peter Ducci's eyeballs rolling back into his head as he listened to her describe why it's misinformation and disinformation to be asking about the funding available to the Hurricane Helene victims, because the SBA loan program is fully funded. They have all the money they need for the victims of Helene and Milton. But they're going to need, there's going to be a shortfall. Stop asking why there's not enough money. There is enough money, but there's going to be a shortfall. So just stop it with the disinformation, the misinformation. Well, Politico here. Disaster loan program fully exhausted with Congress still out of town. It's been 2 days. It's been 2 days since the clip of Karine Jean-Pierre telling us there's going to be enough money. 2 days they made it with that money, which is a little bit concerning because what does that mean? Does that mean that people are taking those SBA loans? Well, perhaps they wanted it that way. Perhaps the disaster loans being exhausted is not the end of the world. Let me give you a little bit of this. The nation's loan program for disaster survivors has fully exhausted its funding, the Biden administration announced Tuesday. And lawmakers, wait a second, Tuesday? Let me look at a calendar. Okay. Tuesday. Yes. Okay. Got it. It all makes sense now. Sorry, I had to look at it. I was confused about the date and the time. Transcending the time and space and traveling dimensions does make it a little complicated remembering Earth date and time. Lawmakers, the only ones who can greenlight more funding. Lawmakers. Remember, Congress has to come back and approve more funding. But Biden can send $1 billion to Lebanon whenever he wants. That's what Peter Ducci was asking about, all that dis and misinformation. The lawmakers, the only ones who can greenlight more funding, are slated to be out until after Election Day, Without congressional action, the Small Business Administration can't make new loan offers to people trying to rebuild businesses and homes hit by disasters like Hurricanes Helene and Milton. So you get the point. SBA loans, they're all out. No more SBA loans. Sorry, gotta wait for after the election to see if you can get one of these loans to recover. But don't worry. Now, people were a little concerned about the loans because it did mean that people taking those loans, if they missed a payment or couldn't pay the loan back, they would lose large swaths of their ancestral lands. Some expected for maybe reasons of lithium mining in the exact areas that these loans were being provided. But now, see, we can just get rid of the middleman. We don't need federal loans and defaults on federal loans to be able to pass on this lithium-rich dirt. I'm not even saying for the mines. That's not me. I don't care what they want the land for. They obviously want the land. It just happens to be very rich in lithium, which is the most valuable thing you could possibly mine right now if we're going to move into this new green future where everybody drives Teslas. And we don't want to rely on Congolese children to dig our lithium. We want to rely on North Carolinian children. Just kidding. Kids, you're okay. Just become a podcaster. Everything's going to be fine. So let me jump over here. Politico, once again, Politico just laying this out real easy for me. Next headline, why North Carolinians probably won't take the federal buyouts after Hurricane Helene. So first there's the SBA loans as a quick and easy way to get some people on the hook. But now there's just apparently federal buyouts, straight up federal buyouts. Congress has poured billions of dollars into programs to buy out homeowners and help them relocate to safer areas after natural disasters. Interesting how they didn't fund the SBA loans to a degree that could have been useful in this situation. But they did happen to fund the federal buyouts to billions of dollars, SBA loans to $200 million. 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. Congress has poured billions of dollars into programs to buy out homeowners and help them relocate to safer areas after natural disasters, but they're not expected to win over many residents in flood-ravaged rural North Carolina. So I thought the framing of this was very interesting. This is the first time I've ever heard of federal buyouts of disaster areas. That's where the federal government, surprise, surprise, comes in and buys out the land in these affected areas. Notice the framing of Politico giving me this revelation is not so much that there are federal buyouts, things that we've been told, by the fact checkers, don't exist, and it's a conspiracy theory that the government would swoop in at the darkest days of victims of natural disasters. They just happen to have their ancestral lands on lithium-rich deposits, something their ancestors fought and died for, of course. But on top of that, the money's there, baby. Congress is ready. Let's go. Sell it on out. Powerful. Oh, the framing. Sorry, I got distracted. The framing of this is not so much that the buyouts exist, but it's about why people won't take the federal buyouts. It's more about the population not taking federal money. And we know the implication coming from Politico, exactly what that is going to be. The quotes in this article. Do you think it's going to be maybe from one of the residents who has something to say? Do you think it's going to be even from somebody in the area? Well, of course it is, but it's not going to be someone who is speaking with much understanding about those who might not have any interest in selling their property to the federal government. Quote, there was a Western North Carolina that existed before this, and there's one that comes after, Smathers said in an interview. Sorry, this Smathers fella is the mayor of Canton in Western Carolina. Said he's no longer comfortable persuading people and businesses to remain after heavy rainfall from Helene overflowed the banks of the Pigeon River. So in his experience here, apparently he's been trying to persuade people to stay. He's no longer comfortable doing that, so he has turned to persuading people to sell their land to the federal government. Very interesting. Smathers admitted he didn't expect many residents to take up the offer from the federal government. There's not many other places nearby for people to go, he said, since Helene brought apocalyptic damage to all corners of western North Carolina, where housing affordability is a top concern. Many people simply want to hold on to their properties, many of which have been in their families for generations, he says. Those factors will hobble programs designed to lessen personal and financial hardship, as well as costly taxpayer-funded disaster response. People wishing to stay in their homes or stay in the towns in which they live, not selling to the government, is going to hobble taxpayer-funded disaster response. Not selling your property to the government is a moral problem because you will be costing taxpayers disaster. Well, we know that not a whole lot of money goes to disaster responses in these situations. We just learned this over the past week. It is a apparently critically unfunded disaster response fund, and somehow is going to cost even more for people to not sell the house. It seems like there's a little bit of a double standard going on here. But don't worry. The bipartisan infrastructure law of 2021 added $3.5 billion in funding to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, that's FEMA's Flood Mitigation Assistance Program, which buys out severely flood-damaged homes as part of a policy to keep people out of harm's way while reducing taxpayer spending on future disasters. Very interesting framing here that purchasing up the whole town's worth of property is framed as keeping them out of harm's way. This is for you. This is to protect you. We will purchase your land and then shame you if you do not sell it to us. It's the comparisons to sort of the robber baron era of industrial America is almost too much not to cringe at. It added another $500 million in low interest loans and $100 billion to a grant program to support community projects to reduce disaster strikes. $3.5 billion to purchase homes of people who lost their, or to purchase property of people with flood damaged homes. So it seems they did seem to see this coming. They were prepared. Not prepared to help people stay in those homes, but specifically help people get out of those homes and hand over the property to the government. Interesting. Very interesting. Let me see here. There's another bit of it here. Oh, it was interesting right here. The Flood Assistance Program pays pre-disaster market-based prices for properties that have been damaged by floods, the most costly type of natural disaster in the United States, which are most prone to future flooding. FEMA said that most of its property acquisitions come through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. FEMA apparently makes a habit of property acquisitions. What does FEMA do with these properties? It has acquisitioned most of its property. Where are they acquisitioning these other properties? FEMA said that most of its property acquisitions come through the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, for which funding is made available through federal disaster declarations. So apparently FEMA has a real estate portfolio that I did not know about. Goes a little bit counter to what all those fact checks were trying to get us to believe. Of course, we know that they were picking and choosing random social posts from people to fact check to give the impression that FEMA does not make it its business to, I guess the word they used was seize people's property. I guess the correct word would be acquire people's property. And apparently they make a habit with an enormous budget for acquiring people's property for their own safety. Now here's one of the big problems. It does say they purchased this property for pre-disaster market-based prices for the properties. Now here's the real question. If there is no house on the property, a market-based price for the property is a different situation than a market-based price for the home. For anybody who has any experience getting something like fire insurance, if you get fire insurance on your house, you'll notice they will only insure the cost of the structure, the house, not the land, not the property itself. Well, with flood insurance, not flood insurance, but this flood assistance program, it sounds like, and I'm clicking in here to see if I can find any more specific details. Might have to do another FEMA search on their FEMA.org. I might do that real quick. But if they are coming in to pay market-based prices for the property and not including the house, that does not sound as enticing as it might be. Because let's just say you have a $300,000 house. Well, if the house gets swept away, the property is left there. FEMA comes in, they want to pay the money for the property. Well, are they going to be paying the price for the land itself pre-flood or for the house as well? Well, I know the federal government, and I've worked a little bit in trying to acquire my own types of things like flood insurance and fire insurance, and I am going to make a pretty educated guess right now, folks, that they are not giving these people top dollar for their house and property, the price of the house and the property. I'm going to assume, and this is just an assumption, I'm going to try to click around here and see if I can find the answer to this. But one of you, please, if you know anything about this, let me know. Send us an email, send us some links so we can straighten this up. Now, the problem with this is you have a $300,000 house, a flood comes through, maybe the structure was worth $150,000, nice double wide there. So FEMA is coming in. They're not going to pay you the $300,000 that it was worth beforehand. They're going to pay you the $150,000 for the land. And look, maybe that's best case scenario for some people. Maybe some people were planning on moving. Some people want to take this opportunity and find another place to settle. The bad news is this is North Carolina. It's one of the cheapest places you can live. $150,000 is not going to get you very much in other markets. This is not necessarily the blessing that FEMA wants us to think that it is. But of course, it's not so much about taking care of the people. It's about acquiring the real estate. Property acquisitions is something now we know that FEMA makes a habit of. And of course, we had a quote here from Paula Swepson, Executive Director of West Marion Community Forum. I'll let you guess as to what you think her worldview is on all this here. Here's her quote, quote, "We're a heavy Republican state. Let's just say that. They don't believe in climate change. They don't believe in environmental justice. Believe that DEI is from the pits of hell," she says. Her quote continues, "So how can we continue to fight and let people know that these things are real? And if you didn't believe it, how do you think this happened? How do you think this hurricane happened?" if it wasn't for DEI. If you don't think DEI is real, how do you know this hurricane happened, huh? Now, of course, we're making jokes here, but you can tell that this lady is very frustrated with the other people that she lives around. And again, it wouldn't be so insulting if we didn't see the media making a habit of laying moral judgment on people who want to stay in the place that they live, laying moral judgment on people who do not want FEMA to acquire their property, laying moral judgment on people who do not want to take a loan from the federal government that puts their assets at risk. These people, we've seen it said once more here that these people are either stupid or bad for not accepting the help from the federal government. We've heard it in this very words of Karine Jean-Pierre herself, that this is a moral issue. Officials in many towns, however, don't know how to access federal programs. Well, of course, that's where we need the FEMA people on the ground. We read this last time that the majority of FEMA disaster workers, they're not there, well, rescuing anybody or clearing debris or anything like that. No, they're helping people fill out forms, helping people fill out loan applications, and apparently helping them fill out purchase, I guess, acquisition forms for FEMA. So there you go. Just a little bit more updates straight from Politico here. I know as we see many messages swirling around using the perhaps more alarmist phrases that we've heard regarding lithium mining and the acquisition of property. And God forbid we hear anything about space lasers or hurricane machines. But the fact remains, they wanted you to believe over and over and over that FEMA, A, does not acquire property. We do know now officially they do acquire property, and that they don't give out loans, which, of course, we know in a way they help you apply for SBA loans through FEMA. So over and over again, we see some very crafty framing here by the mainstream media. And as always, all you got to do is keep reading, and the truth will reveal itself. It is just something that cannot help but do. So there you go, folks. There's a little bit of an update for that. Anybody affected by the disaster here, please feel free to reach out. Let us know what the experience is, either on the ground or with, perhaps you are being approached about SBA loans, about FEMA property acquisition, whatever it is. Let us know as much as you can. Let's see here. I am scrolling. I want to grab one last. Over the next 6 months, over the next 6 months, residents in the pocket of Appalachia that suffered damages from Helene should expect to hear about FEMA-backed offers to buy flooded homes, said Lisa Sherrard, a Columbia, SC, South Carolina-based flood consultant. So there you go. Keep an eye out for those FEMA-backed offers. But until then, remain thinking outside the cage, and I will see you guys on Monday. We're back. We're back in business on Monday, folks. Okie dokie. Talk to you then.
All right. Thanks, Basil. Let's I got one more story for you, and then I'm out of here.
So a new discovery. Antarctica.
Advanced Antarctica.
Climate crisis. Penguins.
The New York Post had a headline, "Mysterious doorway discovered in Antarctic ice via Google Maps, and conspiracy theorists have wild ideas." Yeah, if you find a doorway on a video, or on Google Maps, people are going to speculate. Now, I've seen the photo. It does look like a doorway. I got to admit. It's got Excuse me. If you look at it, it's like a snowy kind of hill bank kind of thing. And what it looks like is that an avalanche came down or something and covered the area with snow, except for a sort of rectangular shaped, I don't know, like door. I mean, it really does look like a door. Now, it would be a massive door because it's comparing it to the size of different things. It would be a huge opening. But yeah, they're calling it a mysterious doorway. It says this: Google Maps is a place of great discovery, and the latest sighting may be one of the oddest yet. In East Antarctica, just south of Japanese research outpost Showa Station, eagle-eyed users spotted a mysterious doorway, which has become the topic of wild theories online, with some speculating that it's Bigfoot's vacation home or a maroon shuttlecraft from Star Trek. One Reddit user who noticed the ominous structure at the coordinates, they give the coordinates here, 69 degrees south, 39 degrees east, simply asked, quote, "Massive door in Antarctica?" I mean, truly, it does look like a door, folks. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It looks like a little opening into the mountains there. Quote, "Just a blown-off Boeing door," one person suggested. Ha 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 ha. Wonder if they get DoorDash there. Ha 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 ha. What would we do without the conspiracy theorists? John Smelly, a professor and volcanologist at the University of Leicester, joked to the Daily Mail regarding the many suggested offer. Everyone's a jokester now, huh? Everyone's a conspiracy jokester. So funny. Everything's so funny. I don't know. We laugh a lot here, too. It's kind of part of what we've been about for many years, as well as a few other shows or whatever. But yeah, I mean, truly, if you don't have humor, you're either crying or you're laughing, right? Now, with this particular story, I thought it was interesting that a year ago on the Jerusalem Post, an article was written by Walla. I don't know who or what Walla is. W-A-L-L-A exclamation point is the name of the author of this article from the Jerusalem Post, dated September 7th, 2023. So again, over a year ago. And their headline, "Hidden Nazi Bunker? Mysterious Door Discovered in Antarctica." Now, this article, similar in nature, Google Map users have stumbled across a potential hidden Nazi bunker after spotting what appears to be a mysterious door concealed in Antarctica. And it goes through the whole thing and how the Nazis sought refuge in Antarctica. They kind of talk about that. The foundation of the conspiracy is partly grounded in truth. In 1938, Hitler dispatched a German expedition to Antarctica to obtain whale oil. Since 1947, there's that year again, this expedition has fueled debates among conspiracy researchers, some of whom propose the possibility of war criminals constructed an extensive military base beneath the ice during the month-long visit, where they suggest elite Nazi officials may have survived beyond the war's end. And it goes on here and goes into the details. But one thing to note about this Jerusalem Post article, no photos of the doorway. No links, nothing. It's just an article that talks about how people on the internet found a doorway to a Nazi bunker. That's it. No photo, no nothing, no source, nothing, right? So weird. And then a year later, we get the photo with on New York Post, and all the conspiracy theorists are talking about it now. So it makes me think that this is another narrative crafting operation. It's places like Jerusalem Post we see things get published before they hit the American mainstream. So it makes sense, right? I mean, you get the reason why that might make sense. A lot of people are up to speed on that, but I find it strange. Why now? Why publish this? Why get everybody's eyeballs on this type of story? Could be just a distraction during the election. Who knows? But I tend to think that whatever's going on down there is going to matter a lot in the coming years, because once again, tying it back to the quantum computer stuff, the temperatures to operate a quantum computer, as far as I understand it, is very cold. It's got to be very, very cold, right? Which ironically, even the COVID shots at the beginning, right? They said all the mRNA stuff has to come in. It's got to be really, really cold. And then you saw people in, gym shorts carrying an igloo case out into a parking lot where they were jabbing that stuff into people's arms. But anyway, so the idea of very cold is interesting, and perhaps that is why there are already places in, within Antarctica bases, perhaps an opening to a hollow Earth. Who knows what? All the things, right, could be going on there. Nephilim penguins hanging out. You never know. So, that's all I want to say about that. It's just an interesting story that makes mainstream New York Post type of headlines, but is, interestingly enough, a story that was reported a year ago by the Jerusalem Post with no real context. Something to keep in mind. It's the little things that we notice here on Canary Cry News Talk. We appreciate all of you for supporting the show. Producers of Time, Talent, and Treasure, again, thank you. Let us know how you feel about these episodes where we don't talk, or we don't, I'm sorry, I'm getting messages from people at the same time. Okay, hold on. Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay. So yeah. What was I saying? Yes. Thank you to the producers. Let us know what you think about these episodes where we don't thank you on air. See if you like it. Kind of just sticking to the stories and kind of hitting it, and then calling it a show. One thing I do want to mention: I did receive a. Let's see. I'm trying to find the exact thing here. Okay, here we go. There was a meetup that's taking place. Let's see. Do I have this correct here? Oh, I don't know why this is not operating properly. Oh, it's not updated. Hold on one second. Let me get this right. Let me make sure I do this, because I think I did not do well on the last one. There's a meetup taking place in Northwest Indiana, coming up in November, just a few days after the election, November 9th. Northwest Indiana meetup, Maryville, Indiana at Region Cat Cafe at 4 p.m. Central, then Aladdin Pita at 6 p.m. So a couple different places that these folks will be hitting up. Saturday, November 9th, 2024. Hey, we might be living in post-America at that point. It might be your first post-America network state Canary Cry meetup happening in Northwest Indiana. So if you're interested, you got the contact information right there on canarycrymeetups.com. Again, canarycry.support. If you would like to support us with all the ways you can do that, you can see it there. Canarycry.party if you want to see all the links to everything we have here. We appreciate all of you for supporting us over the years, and continue to support us as we keep on rolling. And we know we're at an influx point here. Some interesting things about to take place in America and the world. That's all I have for you guys. I got to get on out of here. Appreciate you. Love you guys. Thank you. And God bless. I'm going to go straight to it. No ending music today. I really got to get going here. Sorry about that. Thank you. God bless. And remember to think outside the cage.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
This is the United States of America, for God's sake. Armageddon's on the way.
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary Cry, support.